My dear friends, good morning to all of you. We had an excellent session in the morning where we met a lot of very senior people who are green enthusiastic from different parts of the country. And we also saw the award function. Now we are coming to the basics, the most important thing. And the discussion what we are going to discuss is on green architecture. What makes a home a living building? The subject that we are going to discuss, and we have three very eminent people who are with us. One thing is probably our friend here can start his talk. Mr. Mathan Ramaiah can start his talk. I would like to introduce Architect Mathan. Architect Mathan Ramaiah graduated from the prestigious Columbia University, New York. He has over 16 years experience working in Indian and international firms, leading several award-winning master plans with special emphasis on passive and active sustainable strategies. He's a design director of Fountainhead Design Group, one of the leading sustainable architectural design firms in India, with more than 120 designers across 4 branches in India. Let me introduce to you and request Architect Mathan Ramaiah. There's one more thing. Personally, we share the same college, same school. Both of us studied at School of Architecture and Planning in Chennai, 20 years apart, right? Okay.
Thank you, sir. That's a great way to end and great place for me to start from. It does look like time is going to be very short, so I might be a bit faster so that, somehow breaking it and splitting it into 2 might be a bit too, and probably most people might be into lunch. So I'm going to be a bit faster. And what I'm going to show today is something that is a bunch of projects that we have done. So we are an architectural group, and what we are doing is actually work. So most of what we have practiced is what we preach. So what we're going to quickly run through some of these projects, and I'll just explain the concept behind it in a second. So when you say Earth, what comes to our mind? So either it's a Nat Geo image, something very pristine and beautiful, or something that's interdependent and it's an ecosystem. Sometimes it's a material if you're an architect. But how many people think about it as soil, right? Something that you stand on, something that is humbly below you and really is the reason why we are surviving. And that's a question that we have always been wondering as architects. The first thing that comes to us is soil is the soil-bearing capacity, an engineering version of soil. So either we think of something that holds buildings. So the perception of architects when it comes to soil, so it's something that shouldn't give away, or it should be something that should be moved out of the way. So that's how we see earth movers, soil-bearing capacity. So architects are not really into being sensitive to the place they are building as a place that grows rather than as a place to put things onto. And where are we, after replacing this, where are we? How meaningful is the difference we are making after removing, let's say, the soil or move the earth out of the place? Right? Today, the real estate industry is under high pressure to produce a lot of homes. As a private sector, there's a lot of pressure to create a USP-based. Yeah. So let me summarize where the industry is today. The construction industry is in a place where mostly it's done as a marketing strategy. Most of the homes that we build, these architects know it. They're all branded different, but all of them pretty much look similar. And it's like a hand drawing a hand. You have developers whose pressures are, let's say, density, marketability, cost, sales pitch, because they're competing at a cutthroat market. And then on the other side, there are architects who are in 6 weeks, 8 weeks have to produce concepts. So, we've done around 80 million square feet of architectural projects. So on a daily basis, we are facing extraordinary situations where we have to come up with solutions, but they have to be innovative, they have to be special for that client. And in most cases, it doesn't happen. They become standardized, they are quick turnaround solutions, and most of it is spent on the physicality, FSI, numbers, and hardly the heart of the project goes towards making it a sustainable community. So where does this leaves us in this vicious cycle of the rate of expansion versus how quickly we can respond to it. So our simple realization is this: for architects to really make an impact in the sustainable industry, we have to expand. expand our thinking, expand our field of practice, get into things that we have not done before. And we should not only talk about sustainability as something that is a quest for building a building. It has to be about building an ecosystem. Like Apple, let's say the Apple phone is not the greatest thing built. The ecosystem that was created by Steve Jobs to create the App Store to it, that's what makes everybody's iPhone different. So how do we as architects create an ecosystem that's not just for people, for plans, for intentions of social spirit, and how do you exercise it as a collective sustainable responsibility? So we kind of as an office took this as a challenge and said, let us expand into fields that we don't know. We became a developer. In practice, we actually started to do a project that we thought would be an experimental project and something that breaks away from the notion of urbanity the way we know it. So we wanted to find the synergy between urban and rural and move away from a society of consumption into production. And the first thing that comes to mind is health. In today's world, where people are missing out is on the health sector, because most of what we eat is not what we should eat. I mean, people are from pesticides. I mean, there's so many things that are polluting our environment. So just to begin from that perspective, becoming a production-based resident rather than a consumer-based resident as a lifestyle is where we thought as architects the first step should be. And looking at, I mean, it's a very simple mathematic of saying generally you need around half an acre to 1 acre per person to be a sustainable farm-based lifestyle. If that math were to work on some of the bigger cities, they need to grow almost 164 times in case of Bombay. So it really needs that amount of farming to actually feed the people. So densifying is not something that's just happening in one place. It's actually putting bigger straws and bigger straws to suck from somewhere much farther from where you are actually grounding yourself. So then where is this urbanity leading us? Are we just becoming more and more dense and actually making it less and less sustainable for the surrounding environment while thinking that we are creating something extremely sustainable? So we said, let us go and try to become sustainable as an individual. Is it possible? Right? If I were to make my own food as an architect, can we have full control over the environment that I'm creating, that the person who stays there is actually fully sustainable? And this is the first one we started with. It was a small farmhouse that we built for ourselves. And after a point, the barren area you see in the back was meant to be a farm. We just couldn't handle it. It was just too much of effort. We lacked the skill. Something that is just growing crops is not an easy thing anymore. So we went to a larger scale. It works when it becomes a community, when people share the burden of the issues that are around it. The issues become simpler and it's easier to handle. So we created a community which was 2/3 farming and 1/3, 2/3 of collective farming and 1/3 of personal farming. So it's a master planned community. So it is, I mean, it's a different version of affordability. Probably I'll explain it to you in a bit. So this was how we picked a site that was completely barren, but around it, it was fully a farmland. So the idea was, how do we bring it back into this community and make it inclusive? Because at the end of the day, most of what we are doing is driven by a certain selfish attitude as humans. We say sustainability, but it is not for Earth. Earth doesn't need to be. I mean, we need to be sustainable. We need to protect ourselves. Earth can, in one tsunami, finish all of us. So the real notion of sustainability is actually protection of our own human existence. So agriculture becoming the center of this project is where we are focusing our development on. And this is what it is as of today. It's partially done. We are still progressing on some of the most key items. But I'm not going to talk about the architecture. I'm really going to talk about the environment, the ecosystem that we are creating. First thing about a development like that is we don't build and then the landscape comes in the end. It is first the farm. It's first the ecosystem that's created, and then we come and inhabit it. So we created a 7-stage sustainability process that starts from food and goes with water, energy, earth being the center point, shelter, air, and people. So sustainability to us is not obviously for most of us who are here, we don't see it as a rating system. We really see it as a responsibility that we have to respond to. So in that sense, we created our own methodology and idea for how we'll measure the sustainability of our project. And these 7 items, we call them saptapatha, like 7 steps for ourselves. They are not independent items. They are all working as a collective system, and they're all interdependent. They're all working with each other, just like an ecosystem would. And this is the beauty about doing a larger project, is because you can actually invest in thinking about a bigger picture than a house as a house. So the farm itself has multiple, it's a biodiverse farm, so it's not a monocrop. And it has, obviously, animal husbandry to add to it. And it's a fully organic farm. So we had to learn as architects how to do all of these, right? So we had to bring people in, we had to understand agriculture, because most of the money is coming from not from commercial investors. These are people who are genuinely interested in creating a sustainable life. So from farm as a produce to medicinal plants, so this is what first got created in the project. And it became a possibility to actually start selling it, because then you create an ecosystem that is sustainable by itself, because the economy works within it. And we created a system of delivery, so we had to understand that. So slowly our scope of what design means kind of starts changing. And how does it become affordable? Because at the end of the day, if you want to own a small house, in Mumbai it might be 3 or 4 crores. I mean, an independent house would cost a huge number, 10 crores maybe. But in a place like Hyderabad, where the amount of cost per land is very low, it makes absolute sense. Unless you are greedy, you don't have to build a lot, because you're not paying a lot for the land. There is no FAR, if you know. There's no FSI in Hyderabad. So you can build how much you want, or how much little you want, but make it sustainable and economically viable. So what we said was, instead of you paying maintenance and food cost, let the community that you live in actually pay these 2 back to you. So you're not spending money on that. That naturally means that it becomes affordable. And it doesn't stop with plants. You have to start with animals as well. So these are, I mean, my daughter is also there. The whole organic farming is based on a cow-based system. So you need to have cows, because cows produce the manure, and the manure goes into the farm, and you have milk that you drink. So it's a complete sustainable cycle. And things like snakes are not scary reptiles anymore. You know, you have to live with them. That's when we can truly say we are sustainable, not closing ourselves into a white building. Now we have started apiculture, because you must have read that bees are going to be extinct very soon. So, and in a farm, if you are really relying on a farm, you then need to produce your own bees, use the earth to create your own utensils. So all of this is built on-site and used on-site. And most of our office staff on the weekend go and do the farming, and of course we are learning that. But we are also having sessions for agriculturists and farmers to come and teach. So it becomes a true cross-pollination between urbanites and rural people. And urban people can now go out and make a tourist economy based on all of this. When it comes to water, we are saving water. Whatever falls on the site is maintained on the site. So there's 2 big water bodies that we have kept. And this whole thing, it catches water to rejuvenate itself. So, and these water bodies are not just storage, like tanks. They really are ecosystems. Now you're talking about having fishes inside it. The fishes produce manure that goes back to the plants when you irrigate them. And we start to use them as an entertainment area, right? So we have some small camps that people can go around it. So what architecture can be is much more than what we think as buildings, or much more than what we think as sustainable technologies, right? It can go to the grassroots level and can change, change the social attitude of people. The whole project is off the grid. It means that we are producing net zero community, so there's no power from outside. In fact, we are making enough that we are giving out. And each villa is fitted with around 10 kilowatts of solar power, and it's enough for themselves and for the agriculture part of it. But again, we don't see architecture as an independent element from the technology. the architecture actually becomes part of that. So the roof structure that we are creating slants to the 15 degrees that is required for the solar panels. And it naturally lights itself in the night, and it becomes a beautiful entity. So again, in an ecosystem, it all works together. You cannot take one apart and then see one as an add-on. And what we are using are upcycled materials. So vegetables come in crates. Crates are thrown all over the place. So why should we waste them? Why don't we use them as screens? Why don't we protect ourselves after these crates are used once the vegetables are gone? So we believe in this idea of weathering rather than weather resistant, because architecture is always about sealing yourself, sealing this environment that we live in. But here we are actually opening it up and letting this, because it is not going to last. We know that after 3 years, these wood pieces are going to rot. So then we are going to change it. That's it. We're going to get new crates, change it. It's not going to be expensive, and it's done in a way that it can be replaced. So the way we live, the way we behave with our environment can be completely inclusive. It doesn't have to be an environment, and here I am, and once in a while I'll interact. It doesn't work like that. Once you step into each house, it just opens on both sides. It's a narrow, flat house. So air goes through it, light comes into it fully. You almost feel as if you're living outside. And that's what we want. We want people to actually live in an outdoor environment than indoor. And every space has an equal amount of outdoor space. If you have a living inside, there's a living outside. If you have a bedroom inside, there's a balcony as big as the bedroom outside. So initially we thought, we want to do a 2,000 square feet house. We eventually did 1,000 square feet, 1,000 square feet of outside space, which are not conditioning anymore. And these can be adapted, so they can close, open. Again, solar panels are actually shade structures. They are not some roof structure that's sitting on a slab. They actually shade the roof, so it reduces the heat gain. That's what the bedroom looks like. You get in, you really don't want to lie down, you want to sit outside and use it. So again, the architecture is not the key. The key is the way you want to live and the way you change your attitude towards the environment you live in. So you come out, you see people farming. These are villages we have taken from nearby villages. There are 5 villages around this property. So people from those villages come, so it has a bigger economic responsibility to the area around it. And we are also experimenting in things that typically we won't do, because typically developers don't have the patience or the research bandwidth to do it. For instance, bamboo we just spoke about it, is an excellent building material, but there's so many issues in India about building in bamboo. The biggest structure we have today is around 3,500 square feet. But bamboo, abroad, they have done massive structures in bamboo. Why? So we said, let's do one part of our project using bamboo structure. So we designed what would typically developers call as a clubhouse. We actually made it into a outdoor, like sitting below a tree. It just happens to be an architectural project. But here are the issues. Bamboos in India have a very different characteristic than bamboos elsewhere, or in the East Asian or Colombian regions. Right? Bamboo is much more thinner, not really strong. There is a lot of issue with streamlining the construction of bamboo. You don't get the right material. It's not like steel. It's not extruded. It's grown. So you have to control it to be actually make a structural engineer believe that it's going to stand it, because there's no other way they will believe it. So that whole system has to fall in place. Our economy of bamboo has to change to make this happen, right? So the design codes have not developed. The industry doesn't think it's important. So bamboo has pretty much died in the construction industry and mostly used in the paper industry. So how do we bring it back? How do we make a jump, a paradigm shift? Because at the same pace, it will not change it. After 10 years, we'll be talking the same, and another 5,000 square feet of bamboo house will be built. So we tested ourselves. We used some local craftsmen, and eventually decided to have a building. Again, I'm not going to talk about the architecture, but the idea was to do like a rice grain. It sits in a farm, so as a symbolic gesture. And we wanted to build a building that really can have a clubhouse and al fresco, everything inside it. So it was a 60-meter by 20-meter building. And that's pretty much what it was a month ago. So we were able to actually source bamboo from the northeast, from Tripura, specifically grown for the project, and using bamboo mats, which is re-engineered and then put on the project as the roof structure. And these are Fairly simple structures. Again, it's nothing complicated about it. But this is today the biggest bamboo structure in India. It's around 15,000 square feet, but absolutely, it misses in scale when it compares to what is there abroad. That's how far back we are, right? As an ecosystem, we are not developing. We're talking about it as independent elements, but as an ecosystem, we're not developing. And this is the roof structure. All of this was done by a company in Goa called Native Conback. They have really tried it. They're joint venturing with Tatas to really figure out how to grow bamboo as a construction material. So there's a huge gap between what we can do and what is actually possible in the industry. That's upper deck. So we opened this structure a couple of weeks ago during the World Bamboo Day. A lot of interest, a lot of people came over. We had a lot of talks, so there's a lot of cross-pollination of ideas. Now they are coming into a system which looks green, which is sustainable, and you're building and you're thinking sustainable, you're creating an ecosystem again. And the interesting part of that was that when you see these brown walls, they were it's a mud plaster that was actually made on site. This is most of us in our office and the residents who are living there. We made our own mud. It was a dance in the rain. It's a brown Holi. So after we did that, we just had it with the help of a potter, painted the building. And this also kind of opens up possibilities for innovators to come and join us. There are a bunch of engineers who came to us and said, what if we make a treadmill that can actually generate energy and not spend energy? Right? So when you walk on it, you're actually charging a battery. So these are college students who just joined our group and they wanted to innovate because the environment allowed it to happen. They can just plug and play. And it interested people in our office. So we started having square-foot gardens on our terrace. It's only a 6-inch of soil, just 6 inch. And all the teams got one. And after, you won't believe this, this is exactly 4 weeks after planting, right? And we could grow carrots in there, we could grow corn in there, we could grow radish in there. Of course, the carrot doesn't grow long anymore because it's squashed, it's a bonsai carrot. But the spirit of being able to do your own farming as an urbanite in your terrace is absolutely possible. So we said, why don't we take a huge community and collapse it and make it vertical? Right? Is it possible to do the same procedure in a vertical manner? So now we are experimenting. Of course, this project is now under construction, so I cannot show you images of how the reality is. But the intent is this. We want to bring people and landscape as a productive landscape together, not as horticulture, not as something, because already I've shown you that there is no space. Even if we build all of India with farm, we're not going to be able to feed India. Per person, you want to have 1 acre of farmland. So anywhere and everywhere, it has to be a productive landscape. So we are pushing that and trying to bring people together because the social aspect is extremely important in this. And this vertical garden, based on our understanding based on the horizontal understanding that we have got, we are trying to bring it back into a vertical environment and trying to create a space within the building. And it's a very small footprint, a regular apartment block. But it's going to have everything inside it. It's going to be a social space, it's going to be a green space, and it's going to be something that the residents are going to take care of. There's no external influence into it. And the roof becomes a green garden with a nursery, and then that gets replanted down. So there is, again, a small ecosystem. How does somebody outside come in? Of course, I cannot have a dairy farm in there, but we can definitely do a nursery in there. So this is under process. I'm just showing you, where there is possibility, how far this can go. Architecture doesn't have to be a building-related industry. This is another client who called us and said they wanted a health cafe. And they had this beautiful landscape, super horticultured, a lot of greenery, a lot of lawn. And that factory building that you see is the project that they wanted to convert into a health cafe. So our first, coming from this kind of a background, the first instinct was, why are you wasting so much water on this greenery? And there is, I forgot to take a photo of that. There is a placard on the grass saying, do not sit on the grass. So you actually maintained it, fed it, but you're not even enjoying it. Why would you go there? Right? So we said, okay, we'll take the factory, We'll open it up, we'll bring light into it. There's a lot of space. Again, architecture is not the key here. But the intent was to actually take the building out, to actually make the building part of a much bigger landscape, which will now become a farm. So we said in this farm, you can pretty much grow almost a kg per person food that you can directly use in your health cafe. So why do you want to even bring it from outside? And it's a big company that have their own supermarkets. So why don't you just use that supermarket or sell this produce to the people who are working there? You know, create this social attitude towards agriculture and social attitude towards production rather than consuming. That was a proposal. So it now removed all the land. There were around 6 acres of grass and greenery. We just removed it and made it all into a beautiful farm. You could go sit there and the solar panels that's going to produce energy. It's an indoor-outdoor environment. So of course, if it is very hot, you can go inside. But most of the year, you can do without the air conditioning. All the knowledge that we had, or the small amount of information we had from the previous bamboo experiences, now we know that we can push it some more. We know that we can bend bamboo and still be confident that the structural engineer will be ready for designing it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share today. I'm glad that it actually happened in one shot. I was actually halfway through, I was a bit scared. Thank you.
Thank you, Mathan.
Thank you.
It was a fantastic presentation. And as the lady rightly said, I am happy that we could conclude it before the minister came. But unfortunately, these sort of things happen. If you ask me alone, I would have said that no, we are sitting here. We are not stirring out. I also agree with you. Whenever I have a program, I tell the minister, you come anytime. We will stop the meeting, but we will not wait for you or we will not stop. I agree with you. I mean, more important is, you're right. I totally agree with you. I agree with the other lady also here. I am in full agreement with you. But I am sorry, and it was fantastic. I am very proud that you're an alma mater of my own college. Fantastic. I mean, you have done a fantastic job, an unbelievable concept where you have combined the farming, you have combined the gardens, you have combined vertical gardens, combined ponds, so many things. So what a fantastic thing. It was a dream come true, I should say, for you and for all the people watching here. Keep it up, and we will now close this meeting, but I think we can. Still, I don't think that anybody would like to ask questions. It will be open for questions now. But meanwhile, I request you to allow us to come down and sit down so the chairs could be put. The people who are asked for questions, they will come up and answer. Is it okay with you? Yes. Fine. Beautiful. Excellent. So, thank you. Can I have your name? No, it's important because you are a person who intervened in the very right time. Okay, forget it. Okay, bye. So anyway, thank you all. So we are going down. Any questions? The person will come. Have somebody with the microphones. Are you ready there? Very good. So please walk up the hand and ask the questions. The people who would like to answer, they'll come up and ask the question. Yeah. Pardon? No. It is not. It is my belief is also same. But unfortunately, we'll go. We'll have a group photo. Can I have the group photo? Yeah, we'll ask. Please. Hello. Any questions?
Yeah.
Can I have the question, please? Please tell your name and also to whom the question is asked, pointed to, and the question after that.
Yeah. I'm Dharmaraj, coming from Karnataka. I have a question regarding affordable housing. Now, you were talking about various aspects of affordable housing. Sir, my one request to this august body is, this affordable housing, how much ever you try from the private sector, it might not happen. For the simple reason, the costliest part of housing is the land cost in urban areas, in cities. And how the margin generally in this affordable housing, if at all any builder is keeping, according to me, it's very nominal. But the major cost is the land, and the private developers can't do much about that. And when the size of the house or the apartment is less, the cost is not going to be proportionately per square feet. How much ever reduced specs you give, the cost is going to be more.
No, you're talking about the land cost component, which is very high.
So the only option is the government partnering with the private sector, for which there has to be proper regulation. Rajasthan has brought a reasonably good regulation, but still nothing much is happening. Karnataka government did something, but did in a very haphazard way.
Yeah, thank you,
so can this august body interact with the government, bring in a good affordable housing policy and an act, a regulation, not just a policy. Policy everybody is having. Policies cannot be made implemented.
Thank you, Dhamma. I altogether agree with you. I think this is a question probably you have put to the body of IGBC.
Yes.
We surely do the needful. I think it's a very interesting thing, very positive thing you're talking about. That is government to subsidize the land cost so that you can sell the building at a very comfortable, very affordable cost. Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody else? Yeah, please.
Hello, sir.
Your
I'm
name?
Nikhil Dude. I'm an architecture student from Sir JJ College of Architecture. My question is to Mathan, sir.
Oh.
Yeah, the question is, you said, sir, you got some 5 villages together in your project. Actually, even I'm working on a project in Wada region near Mumbai, wherein similar kind of proposal I'm working on. So my question is, how was your entire experience of interacting with the rurals? Because you said that the villages were brought together and they were told to farm on your land. So how was the entire experience?
Rural, it is a very tough question because you are an outsider. Most of the time you're an outsider. Until a point where you can win their trust, you are going to be an outsider. So first they have to believe that you have something positive to hand back to them. Otherwise, most of the time, and there's nothing wrong in the way they are thinking that way, we are exploiting most of what's happening there. And especially farmers, because farmers have this, they're one of the most exploited professions as of today in India, because there are a lot of middlemen who gain out of this whole equation than the farmers themselves. So there is going to be a communication issue for them to believe that what we are offering or what, I don't know about your project, but they're very helpful. You go ask them, they're going to be very, if that's the way that you're asking. If you want them to teach you farming, they will do that. If you want you to help in their farmland, they'll do that. That's what we do. We go on a cycle in the weekends, actually pluck brinjals for them. So it is definitely a worth
Thank you. I think,
Thank you, sir.
interactive society, that is a very important thing which you are talking about. I think we are closing this session now. I would like to thank all the speakers for the session. Most importantly, Architect Kirti Shah, his social concepts are very high. Conrad Gonsalves and Mathan Ramaiah, thank you. And thank you for all the people who have been here. Thank you very much.